Welcome back inside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by the talented and charming and witty Christopher Price, the beat writer for WEEI.com, covering your New England Patriots. Chris, I think the question we both have, listening to Bill Belichick and Tom Brady here on Wednesday at Gillette Stadium, was, does emotion transfer like it did Sunday night to the road next Sunday, this coming Sunday, in Buffalo?
What do they say about baseball? That momentum is as good as your next day's starting pitcher? Right? I think that there's something to that in this situation. It was a great environment here on Sunday night. It was a loud atmosphere. It was a raucous atmosphere.
The Brady chants?
Exactly, the Brady chants. And now the team had energy, but they were able to feed off the energy of the crowd, and it created a really great atmosphere for this football team. I wonder how much of that is sustainable. I wonder how much of that you can bring on the road with you, especially in a place like Buffalo that's always loud. Even in the worst of times, it's always loud, it's always energetic. Now it is on the 53 guys on the field, as opposed to being able to feed off the people in the stands, to be able to continue that, to be able to keep that going, to be able to keep that momentum going. You wonder how much of that they can build on and take into this game.
Well, and I thought it was interesting what Tom Brady told us inside, and that is Bill Belichick warned the team that this is going to be a fired-up crowd. The Petraglia family just purchased the Buffalo Bills from the Ralph Wilson family and the estate. So this will be the very first game under new ownership in Buffalo for the Bills. Fans are going to be fired up. And Tom Brady said Bill Belichick warned the team that it's going to be a different atmosphere.
I do. It's amazing, people. If you've never been to Buffalo, I mean, it's a great atmosphere for football. Again, it's always very, very loud. And the Bills have every right to feel pretty good about themselves and where they are right now. They're 3-2. They're off to their best start since 2011, I think, when they went 5-2 out of the gate. They have one of the best defenses in the league. They have the new ownership. There's optimism in upstate New York. And again, we talk about if the Patriots can sustain that. I wonder if the Bills can sustain it, because traditionally we've seen that over the years. That year they went 5 and they started out 5-2. They ended up going 6-10. Fast starts are great, but at the same time, you need to be able to sustain over the course of a full 16-game season. It's going to be a difficult environment for them. And I think one of the things that stood out for me when going to cover games in Buffalo, Patriots-Bills games in Buffalo, it takes about a quarter to 2 quarters to really kind of deflate that energy in that stadium. I remember going up there a couple of years ago with you, and the Bills got off to a very good start. It was very loud, and it was a raucous environment. And again, they were feeling very good about themselves. Patriots were able to string together a few drives, and instantly the place just went quiet, and New England had control of the game the rest of the way.
That was the game, if I recall. The Patriots scored something like 45 unanswered points, won 52-28, something like that. And then everybody remembers last year's game where the Patriots jumped out to a 10-0 lead on opening day, and then the Bills roared back. They took a 21-10 or 21-17 lead, only to see the Patriots win it on a last-second field goal by Stephen Gostkowski.
Really, the biggest thing for me, and we saw it last week against the Bengals, and I think the Patriots need to continue that now going forward, is the quick start. You know, they got 2 really quick starts. They were able to play with the lead. Tom talked about it today, the importance of being able to play with the lead. Right. It is absolutely vital, not just for them, but to shut that crowd up in Buffalo. I think it's a two-pronged approach. You know, obviously you want to get out to a fast start, but you also want to quiet the crowd. So much of their success is being rooted in being able to play with the lead. We saw it against Sunday. If they're able to do it this coming Sunday, I think it's going to go a long way toward producing a victory.
You talk about the Buffalo Bills, Chris. I think you have to start with their defensive front four and their defense in general. New defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, one of Bill Belichick's students from way back in the Cleveland days. He is their defensive coordinator, and obviously a name that all of New England remembers very fondly as their defensive line coach, one Pepper Johnson. Obviously the Bills also have another former Patriot in linebacker Brandon Spikes. Your thoughts on their impact, namely Pepper Johnson and Brandon Spikes, on this defense, which comes in ranked 2nd in the NFL in fewest yards allowed rushing at 71 per game.
They play with an edge. They play with an attitude, a level of physicality that I don't think you see across the league. I think there's a level of intimidation there. It's not just against the run. They're able to get after the quarterback. They were 2nd in the league last year in quarterback sacks. They are a very complete defense, maybe one of the most complete defenses that the Patriots will see this year. The biggest question is on the other side of the ball with that offense, whether or not Orton can seamlessly move into that starting job. We saw him do a pretty good job last week against the Lions. They play very good when they're right. When they're right on both sides of the ball, they play very good complementary football. And more often than not, though, that starts with the defense.
I know you wrote about this, Bill Belichick mentioning it to us here Wednesday morning, that Sammy Watkins, their #1 draft pick, out of Clemson is very Larry Fitzgerald-like. What did Bill Belichick mean by that?
He has the ability to go up and get the ball wherever. I mean, he possesses the physical skill set to catch a lot of different kinds of balls. What I mean when I say that, you can go up to get the high ball, you can side to side, you can go
right.
Fitzgerald has an incredible catch radius, and I think some of that, you can see that over the course of the first 5 games in a guy like Sammy Watkins. That being said, I think if you're stopping one thing on this team, I think the way the Patriots are currently put together defensively, you want to stop the run. You want to stop Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller, and then you'll be able to see more Darrelle Revis working in single coverage against Watkins. And I think ultimately that might be the best game plan if the Patriots go into this week.
So you're thinking that you do see Revis on Watkins the way we saw Revis on A.J. Green?
Yeah, I think ultimately, again, when you're looking at the skill position players on the Buffalo offense, you want to be able to say, all right, let's take away that running game. Let's make them a one-dimensional team. Let's make them throw it. And you have a guy in Revis who you can match up in single coverage against a guy like Sammy Watkins. It's going to be interesting to see Revis again, second straight week, if he does man up against Sammy Watkins, second straight week where he's going to be facing a receiver for the first time in his career.
All right, little detail here. The Patriots went through another light walkthrough, not a full practice by any stretch of the imagination, here on Wednesday. And I know you're going to delve into this on WEEI.com. Patriots in a stretch of 4 games, I believe it is, you said, in 18 days. How much of Bill Belichick kind of letting up on the gas pedal has to do with them doing another walkthrough? They'll probably get 2 practices in this week before the game on Sunday.
Well, I think the new CBA already limits your time in pads, but I think when you're looking at a stretch of 4 games in 18 days, I can never remember that kind of stretch in my history covering this team. Right. But you're looking at 4 games in 18 days. You want to minimize the reps. You don't want to get you don't want to get banged up in practice. You have a more veteran team than not, and so I think a lot of these guys, they know what they need to do. They need to do in terms of taking care of their bodies and managing the reps and that kind of thing. But you just want to make absolutely sure you want to ease up on the gas pedal at this time of year so you're completely fresh for later in the season.
If last Sunday was all about emotion and getting the ship righted, I think this week is almost as important, but for a very different reason, Chris. You win this game in Buffalo, you're back even in the division at 1-1. You have a 1-game lead on the Bills, with obviously a game in hand, having beaten them head-to-head. But then you do look at the schedule. The Jets here at Gillette Stadium in 4 days, a week from Thursday, and then you get some time in another home game against the Chicago Bears. You hate to play this game, but hey, that's what we do, right? We're in the business of playing this game. If they win Sunday, you're looking at 6-2.
Yeah, I honestly believe that. I think that we could talk all we want about the rough start and the sluggish offense and what happened in Kansas City, but at the same time, you go 6-2 through your first 8 games. You win a couple of division games. You're back where you need to be as it relates to the rest of the AFC East. You feel pretty good about where you are at the midway point of the season.
And your thoughts on what happens Sunday?
I think New England ends up winning this thing. I think that we're going to see a typical Buffalo game. I think Buffalo's going to hang around for a half. I think Buffalo's going to keep it competitive. But I think in the end, you're going to see an awful lot of the running game. I think it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a challenge, but you're going to see some running game. I also wonder if we're going to see some play action, because the Bills, as great as they are on the defensive side of the ball, might be a little bit over-aggressive, might tend to bite on those play action fakes, a little bit of misdirection. That's something to look for on Sunday. But I think New England ultimately wins this thing. I'm going to say 28-20.
All right, Chris. Ryan Hannibal joins us at Ralph Wilson Stadium in Western New York as the Patriots take on the Buffalo Bills in game number 6 of the 2014 campaign. Be sure to follow all 3 of us on WEEI.com for complete coverage of Patriots and Bills. He's Christopher Price. I'm Mike Petraglia, inside a breezy Gillette Stadium, WEEI.com.